What's going on, folks? My name's Josh, you can call me Anoriand, and today I get to come with you with a bit of a different video that has me really excited. A couple of weeks back, it was PAX East 2025, and the wonderful team at Square Enix invited me to get a hands-on preview of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD, and I can finally talk to you all about it. I'm a huge Dragon Quest fan, going back to my original cartridge of Dragon Warrior on the NES, so I'm really excited to dive in. I've got some cool information to share with you guys. If you could do me a favor, give this video a like, hit follow, all that good stuff. Let me get it out of the way now. Now let's get into the good stuff. The important thing I gotta say is, I got a chance, while at PAX, to get my hands on Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD. I physically got to play it. I was specifically playing the PlayStation 5 version, and so I kind of want to break down some of what's going on. For those of you who know, Dragon Quest, as it was always known, originally came out in Japan in 1986, and Dragon Quest II originally came out in 1987. So the times have changed quite a bit since then. But let me tell you, as much as these games are definitely familiar to what they were, they're also still so very fresh and new compared to what they were. If you played Dragon Quest III HD, you'll have something of an idea of what to expect from there. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you all some of the big changes and updates compared to before, and I got some cool information at the end of it. So, Dragon Quest 1, a little bit of a primer for those of you who don't know. You play as the hero, and the hero of Dragon Quest 1 comes from a faraway land, but you end up finding out he is, of course, a descendant of Erdrick. That is why Dragon Quest 3, 1, and 2, in order chronologically, are known as the Erdrick Trilogy. He is the descendant of Erdrick, and he ends up having to save the princess, save the land, and do battle with the Dragon Lord. And along the way, you have to get several pieces of dragon gear before you go on and fight him. If you've played the game, you know this. It is not a particularly long game, it is not a particularly... it was pretty groundbreaking for the time, but it is not wildly innovative, especially by today's standards. So many details of this game, for the update, have changed. For starters, if you played the original, you know every battle was essentially a one-on-one duel. Whenever an enemy would come up, a box would come up, and there'd be just the one enemy inside. That is no longer the case. You can run into groups of 2, 3, 4 enemies in a single fight. Now, the game obviously has been rebalanced around this fact, but the combat is still very snappy, very quick, very effective, while accounting for this, so everything feels fresh and good in that regard. The graphics obviously were updated in the same HD 2D engine that Dragon Quest III HD uses, but that lack of 1v1 battles alone makes such a big difference, to where even though you're just playing with the one character, everything feels so much more alive and vibrant and fluid. Story events have also been added, as well as cutscenes, so when you travel from the starter town to the very first cave, very quickly you're thrown into a story event, and there's like a cutscene that plays out with people talking, and there's so much added around the events of what you do that just really enlivens it. And as much as Dragon Warrior, as I would know it, or the original Dragon Quest, is a game that mentally I would sit here and be like, I enjoy the fact that I got to play it growing up, but I'm good on ever going back for a replay. No. I want to go back and replay it in this version. I'm telling you that right now. Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a super long playthrough. My guess, based on what they were telling me, is that a playthrough of Dragon Quest 1 will be about 10 to 12 hours, which is good. A nice, solid weekend playthrough without being too crazy, but also that grinding was tapered down. The extra time is spent in extra content and in story, which matters. They have also added abilities, a la Dragon Quest 3. So, in addition to just learning some basic spells, you will learn some combat abilities that can do things like enhanced damage and so on. So these things help flesh out the character to where you really feel a sense of growth and progression as you're going through things, and you feel like you've got more tools in your toolkit than just attack, heal, or maybe throw a fireball, and that makes all the difference. I am truly excited to dive back into it. Now, the other one that I'll be honest with you, I am more excited to dive into, especially given the fraught history of it, is Dragon Quest II. Again, basic primer, for those of you who've never played, Dragon Quest II was the game that gave you multiple characters. Dragon Quest I, you just had the one party member. They thought that was a bit too boring. They felt they had to expand it. So you play as a group of 3 princes and a princess, which is, they are all the descendants of the Dragon Quest I hero, and thus the descendants of Erdrick, and you start out controlling the Prince of Maidenhall, and along the way, you pick up his 2 cousins, the Prince of Cannock and the Princess of Moonbrook, and the 3 of you go on to have to save the world. world. There's similar updates in terms of the combat, in terms of fleshing out the story and everything. But one of the most important things it does is it truly goes out of its way to rebalance the characters. For those of you who don't know, it is such a running gag that the characters were so horribly unbalanced in the original releases. You'll see fan art that shows the two of the party members, the Prince of Midenhall and the Princess of Moonbrook, literally dragging around a coffin that has the Prince of Cannock in it, because he was just flatly so much worse than everyone else. Like, the way his stats grew, he hit a certain point in the game, and then he stopped being useful. And the magic was so limited that the Princess of Moonbrook was really only but so good herself, but you could figure things out. So it was damn near a 1v whatever by the end of the game, where enemies were throwing tons of party wipe spells at you. It does not feel like that anymore. I came into the game with that section a little ways in, unlike with DQ1, where they kind of threw me at the beginning to get my bearings. So obviously there was some time to progress, and each of the characters immediately felt like, oh, I see how you're all differentiated, and I see how you all have use. Will they all be 100% like this the whole game through? Highly doubtful. Dragon Quest really never does that. But what I expect is it'll be more in line with what we've seen from more recent Dragon Quest games, and really RPGs in general, where different characters will have different points where they are stronger than the others, but they will all be relevant throughout. And really, that's all you can ask for when it comes to Dragon Quest II, is just relevance for the party members. Dragon Quest II is notoriously a difficult game, so rebalancing it at all is a huge jump. Another thing I do want to add as far as that goes, when it comes to Dragon Quest II, something I noticed when we were playing is I had different equipment in my menu while I was, getting to test it out. And so I started swapping out, and the level of detail is like, the characters themselves have preset sprites. Their weapons will change based on what they've equipped. Not necessarily the specifics of a sword, but if you give one of them a sword, the character's gonna be holding a sword. If you give him a sickle, he's gonna be holding a chain sickle. Like, they actually have so much little detail, and that's just something I love. It really makes you feel more connected to the game, right? So, I gotta say, as someone who really dug into, I know how words work, really dug into and loved Dragon Quest III HD and the re-release there, I am so hype, especially to dig into Dragon Quest II. I will play Dragon Quest I, no questions asked. I mean, it's included, so why wouldn't I? But I can tell you, just based on the updates and knowing what I know about the original game, I would have gone out of my way to get this for just Dragon Quest II. Dragon Quest I being included is just, it's a deal. It's a phenomenal deal. From talking with the team while there, I can tell you now that the complete package of Dragon Quest I and Dragon Quest II is going to be about as long of playthrough time as Dragon Quest III gave you, counting all the extra content and things like that, which is a good thing. It means that you have a little bit shorter of a run in Dragon Quest I. You can get your feet wet, you can jump in, you can feel if it's for you, and assuming you do, you run into Dragon Quest II. If it's not, you aren't really going to be feeling like you're missing out. It won't be quite as much punch, but you can absolutely dive straight into Dragon Quest II if a single character adventure doesn't really appeal to you. But as far as the graphics go, I mean, I'm sure I've had some stuff throwing up. Like, I'm not perfectly sure how this is all gonna end up edited. Part of it's gonna be how I feel as I'm going, but I'm sure I've had some images and things flash up on screen while I've been talking. I do know I plan to do that. I just don't know when. But I can tell you right now, I'm gonna be throwing up some pictures and just like, look at this. Look at this. Look, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Just, mwah, chef's kiss. Seeing it in motion up close, absolutely phenomenal. As I said, I did play on the PlayStation 5 when I played, and the controls felt smooth, everything felt natural and good. Even the things as far as like the ability to see where you're going on the map, Dragon Quest I and Dragon Quest II were games that kind of had the "where do I go" sort of feel to them. So having that little extra help is a huge benefit. One other thing I am allowed to reveal today with this preview and telling you how great it looks and all the updates is when it comes out and what it's coming out on. I can officially reveal to you all today, Dragon Quest I and II HD launches this year, October 30th, 2025, which is a Thursday, on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, Windows and Steam, Switch, and I can confirm it will be available for Switch too. so you can get it on any current major platform, as well as on any sort of PC-based situation you've got going on, and you will be able to play it before Halloween this year. And I'm really, really excited to dive in. Thank you again to the team for Square Enix for giving me the opportunity to preview this game at PAX. I really look forward to hopefully getting to work with them again in the future and to get to show this awesome game off to all of you. And beyond that, I just want to say thank you all so very much for watching. If you liked what I had to say about this and you liked kind of the quick breakdown, as I said, please throw a like, give a follow, drop a comment, let me know. What Square Enix release are you most excited for this year? Is it Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD? Is it Bravely Default and the HD remake of that? I hope to be able to show you all that when the Switch 2 drops. Who knows? We'll see. Is it something else maybe I'm not considering? Hit me up, let me know, drop that information down below, leave the comments, do all that stuff. It's the call to action. You gotta do a call to action. What do you want me to do? It's how it works. But thank you all for that. And as I always say, I love y'all, I appreciate y'all, I thank y'all. And until next time, I'll catch you later, fam. All right.